Moon Knight is the most recent new hero introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what a way to introduce him! Say what you will about the second episode, and the third and the fourth and what have you once those come out, but the first episode was awesome. Such fantastic tone and an incredible atmosphere all around. But besides that, it's cool to see this B-tier Marvel character get some time to shine in the spotlight. And since the MCU is all about the multiverse these days, I figured we could welcome Moon Knight properly by looking at some of the most powerful variants of him and ranking them by how much butt they can kick. Cause you know, that's what we do on this channel after all. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Let's start this list off with a variant of Moon Knight that we don't actually know that much about, because she only appeared in about 3 or so panels in one issue of the comics, but the premise of what makes her different from the other Moon Knights is interesting enough in of itself. Crescent Moon was the Moon Knight variant from Earth 920942. She was the leader of a group of religious warriors who we saw defending the Manhattan, presumably a mashup of Manhattan and the Vatican, from the forces of a villain called Greywing, a sort of Batman thing, which is actually kind of a funny little jab to all the comic book fans who constantly compare Moon Knight to Batman. There are certainly a lot of them. Some of you are probably doing it in the comments right now. This hyper-religious version of MK could have been cool to explore a bit further, but alas, she was taken out by the twisted doppelganger of Moon Knight known as Moonshade rather quickly after being introduced. So we will probably never see that version of the character fleshed out any further. You know, as I was saying, more often than not, when someone is talking about Moon Knight, eventually someone else is going to compare him to Batman, usually calling him Marvel's version of the Caped Crusader. And I totally get why people would be making that comparison. Heck, maybe I might have a video in the works where I do just that, you know, you could look forward to. And maybe you could click the subscribe button and ring the bell or whatever to be notified when it comes out. You know, if you want to like help me out or whatever, but if not, it's cool too, I guess. In that same issue of the comic that gave us Crescent Moon, we got a look at a version of Moon Knight that definitely plays into the Batman comparison. This is Moon Man, a character very reminiscent of the Golden Age version of Batman. His attire is much less intimidating looking, a lot more classic superhero-esque, and he even has a plucky sidekick, Moon Boy, who is very clearly meant to be an analog to Robin. Moon Man and Moon Boy wound up playing a pretty decisive role in Moon Knight's battle against the Twisted Doppelganger, ultimately teaming up with the main continuity MK to take it down. Though Moon Man here was nearly ended himself in the process, as if it wasn't for Mark Spector coming in with a conductive charge and his bow staff to take him out and save him, Moon Man would have been toast. Now, Moon Man definitely gets some major bonus points for playing a part in taking out this major foe, someone who is super powerful. And also he gets a few points for having a sidekick who probably helps him out more often than not. I say probably because we don't actually know for sure, as this was the one and only appearance of Moon Man, so we didn't actually get to see any more of Moon Man and Moon Boy. But you know, Robin helped out Batman quite a bit throughout the years, so it's probably safe to assume the same is true here. If a named character exists within Marvel Comics, odds are there's a version of them from the year 2099 as well. And, expectedly, this holds true for Moon Knight, as we got a chance to see a version of the character from that year who takes the whole connection to the moon thing to a whole other level. This Moon Knight actually resides within the city of Attilan, which is on the moon itself. Serving as a defender of the moon's population, Moon Knight 2099 wound up encountering Uatu the Watcher, who at the time was considering destroying some artificial versions of the Fantastic Four that he had previously created. MK 2099 though convinced Uatu to instead allow them to live, to allow them to try to live up to the legacy of those they were modeled after. Power level wise, this MK is presumably about on par with regular Moon Knight, having been chosen as a champion of Khonshu. However, they do have a slight edge over the main continuity MK, as they have the benefit of future technological advancements boosting their arsenal of gadgets and weapons. Seriously though, when are Disney and Marvel just gonna pull the trigger and give us a 2099 MCU already? I just really like the 2099 characters and I would love to see them on the big screen. If it helps at all, I already have a script treatment ready to go, so you know, we can make this happen like right now. Disney, Marvel, call me. The Amalgam Comics universe is one of my favorite things to bring up when people talk about the absolute absurdity that was comics in the 90s. This is something that we will probably never see again, as it took characters from Marvel Comics and characters from DC Comics and slammed them together as part of a massive joint venture between the two rival publishers. This resulted in us getting Moonwing, an amalgamation of Moon Knight and Nightwing. This version of Moon Knight is perhaps the most skilled in terms of martial arts among all of them, inheriting both Mark Spector's and Dick Grayson's fighting styles. He also has the added bonus of enhanced strength, durability, and reflexes depending on the phases of the moon. The fuller it is, the stronger he gets. That's some pretty basic Moon Knight stuff there, but still, he gets it. He is exactly what you'd expect when you mash these two characters together. Basically, a more badass version of both wrapped up into one. That's pretty cool, huh? Would be really awesome to see more of the character, but as I said, it's probably never gonna happen, especially given the current state of both of the publishers. Definitely a bummer. Moonwing showed us what happened when you combine Moon Knight with a character from DC. But what happens when you combine MK with another Marvel character? After gaining control of the Infinity Stones herself, Gamora used them to send the souls of everyone in the universe into Soul World, combining many of them together in order to incapacitate them and presumably to save space in there. Though if the Soul World in the comics is anything like the one we saw within the MCU, it does look kinda roomy in there, so I guess she didn't really have to do that part after all. This resulted in new characters who were fundamentally just combinations of two classic characters. Included amongst them was Arachnite, a combination of Moon Knight and Spider-Man. After being nearly killed by an attack from Goblin by Night, Peter Parker of Warp World was bitten by a mystical spider that linked him to the totem energy of ancient spiders. This, in turn, saved his life, but also fractured his mind, causing him to develop 4 separate personalities. Working with these 4 personas, Peter Parker became the masked vigilante Arachnite, a hero with all the same powers of regular Spider-Man, with the tech and fighting prowess of Moon Knight. After the Infinity Wars comic arc came to a close, Warp World continued existing in a diminished form within the Soul Stone, with Arachnite joining up with a small team of other heroes, becoming the Defenders. This team was made up of Arachnite, of course, Soldier Supreme, Iron Hammer, and Weapon Hex. I know that in the world of media, money talks, so I will just say that I will pay Disney and Marvel this slightly worn $5 bill to bring this team to the MCU. I just think seeing Weapon Hex on the big screen would be a lot of fun. Tell me that I'm wrong. Also, it'll probably cost more than $5, but that's the best I can do. What happens when you take a character who is empowered by an ancient moon god and put him in the middle of a zombie apocalypse? You get a zombified Moon Knight. It's fairly straightforward, you don't really have to ask that question. Mark Spector from Earth 2149, also known as the Marvel Zombies universe, fared about as well against the rampaging undead as pretty much any other hero, managing to hold out for at least a little while, though he presumably was zombified when Nick Fury sent a team of heroes down to try to battle back the zombie horde. Zombie Moon Knight, despite being technically dead, still managed to possess the same powers he did while he was alive, including increased strength, durability, and agility at night, though he was a considerably less capable fighter in his zombified state. But I mean, the dude's literally rotting, so I can't really blame him on that one. Since I already talked about a version of MK from the year 2099, I figured why not look a little bit further forward in time, if there even is one from past that point. To my surprise, there is. This is Moon Knight from the year 3167, which is a super random year, but alright, let's just run with it. This particular Moon Knight holds a distinction that no other MK that we've seen so far can really claim. She is one of the Horsemen of Apocalypse, meaning that she means some serious business. In this version of reality, Apocalypse successfully rose in the 21st century, and went about judging which sentient species deserved to live, and which deserved to perish. After Earth was nearly destroyed, Apocalypse pulled the remains of the world together, and separated it out into different realms, each belonging to the remaining people who he had deemed worthy of surviving. When a time-traveling group of X-Men came forward, finding themselves in this reality, Apocalypse sent out his horsemen, Moon Knight included, to try to destroy them, which went well for a while, as they put up a hell of a fight. But things ultimately ended badly for this Moon Knight, as Nightcrawler teleported her into a pit of spikes, presumably ending her life. Though Khonshu has been shown to be capable of resurrecting his champions, so who knows, she could have came back. If it wasn't for the fact that the X-Men later took Apocalypse down and the world fell apart because his power was kind of the only thing holding it together, yeah, it's sorta hard to come back from that. Still though, a version of Moon Knight that is granted additional strength by Apocalypse and made one of his horsemen is certainly deserving of a spot pretty high up on this list, as that's gotta be a pretty powerful Moon Knight. But she's not the most powerful. During the Infinity War story arc, Magus, a future evil version of Adam Warlock, created a bunch of souped up, twisted doppelgangers of several noteworthy heroes. One of which was, of course, Moon Knight, spawning the abomination Moonshade. Come on, you knew he was going to be on this list somewhere. I've already talked about him twice. Dude was kind of a big deal. This being possessed the ability to absorb the life essence of other beings, effectively becoming stronger with each one. And that is exactly what it said about doing. Traveling throughout the multiverse to different versions of Earth, tracking down each variant of Moon Knight and taking them out, becoming exponentially more of a threat. This gave us a comic story just absolutely packed with different versions of MK. In fact, it was incredibly difficult for me to not just pack this list with different ones from that one issue. It certainly would have made editing this video a lot easier, but where's the fun in that? Also, some of you are probably wondering, yes, that is a dinosaur Moon Knight, and no, I didn't include him on the list because that's pretty much the only look at him that we ever got. If I knew literally anything else about him, he'd be on this list. Trust me, it's a T-Rex blessed by Khonshu. That's just amazing. Luckily though, the main continuity Moon Knight followed him across the different realities, and ultimately put a stop to him, despite being at a serious power disadvantage. Since at that point, Moonshade had seemingly absorbed countless numbers of Moon Knights. I don't really need to get into how the fight actually went down, as I sort of already talked about that when I was talking about Moon Man, but you know, it was a thing that happened. A doin's a transpired. That being said, just because he got beat by regular old MK doesn't diminish the threat he posed as a character. If he were to pop back up and was allowed to just run rampant for a little while right now, he could very well become a major threat to not just Moon Knight, but the entirety of the multiverse. Plus, I mean, come on. The dude's worth putting this high up on the list just for his appearance alone. I mean, just look at him. Ugh. Hey there everybody, I'm John Algetz. I made this video and I want to know what you think. Which Moon Knight variant is your favorite? Let's be honest, it's probably the dinosaur one. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, or go ahead and shoot me a response over on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to CBR for more great videos just like this in the future.